Vanni D'Alessio, born in Stanford, California. Lived most of my life in Italy. Already 15 years I'm in Rijeka, Croatia. I have a little problem to say what is exactly being bilingual. I can speak fluently in Italian, English. I guess I have problems sometimes with English speakers because my level of English is not that, like it's not mother tongue. And Croatian, I speak Croatian. I can understand everything. I don't know if I can say that I'm completely trilingual, but I know these three languages, yes. All right. My family is me, my wife, who's Croatian born, and parents are from the two different parts of former Yugoslavia, but she uses Croatian as a main language. And we have two kids. One child is now 22, goes to university in Italy, in Trieste, very close actually. And another son is 17, he still goes to high school. We didn't make, I don't know how, at what point we decided that it was a plan. So it's hard to tell, but I met my wife when my Croatian wasn't so fluent and she didn't know Italian. So at the beginning we met, well, we also met in academic circumstances in summer school. And everything was in English. So, you know, when you start to speak a language with someone, you usually go on with that language. So we were using English for a good while. And then I think when our son was born, our first son, then we basically decided to speak each in their own language to the kids. Also, we lived in different places. Our kid was born in Zagreb. We lived there for a year or something. And then we went to Italy. We lived there for 7-8 years until he finished his second grade elementary school. And then, but he did some, like a semester of preschool, yeah, and in Croatia. And he was often in Croatia. And when he was in preschool, we moved a lot. And also after the 7-8 years, then we decided to go to Croatia when he enrolled in again in second grade elementary school in Italian language, because in Rijeka, as you know, there are Italian elementary schools. I think some people are stronger than other, influenced by the circumstances, the area where they were. Like my wife is strongly influenced by the place where we are. So if we are in the States, she tends to speak more English around the house, not in the household. And when also in the household, sometimes when I speak to her, and we're in Italy, in Italian, she might answer sometime in Italian, but basically, since we have these children and we speak our own language with children, then it ended up like a schizophrenic little thing. I don't know. I speak only Italian and she speaks only Croatian. The kids speak Croatian with her, Italian with me. They speak Italian about themselves. I think because the first child, when he came into Croatia, had some experience in Italian, he liked Italian at that point. Now I can say that he's not favoring Italian or Croatian, but basically this is the reason probably that he started to speak Italian with his son, or his brother. And so we could say that maybe a little bit Italian is more spoken But the two brothers don't really speak among each other. They don't like each other that much. So half, maybe. It's hard to say. We decided to speak, or if we didn't decide it immediately, then we very early, consciously went on with this plan of speaking to our kids with our own mother tongue. And this was made to give them the opportunities to speak those two languages. This would give them the opportunity to feel at home in both two countries and with both parents of, with other relatives, our parents, me and my wife, and also the other relatives, so they would be at home with them. And I think in general it's a good thing. I think people stick to languages when they, visually see one person. So I think that went on without any very strong need to enforce it. We started it and it went on. I think it's important to feel at home when you speak with other people. I think it's good to give the opportunities to feel at home when they are in circles in two different worlds. And the two countries or three countries, like in the States, are three different worlds. And I think it's good to give them this opportunity. I think it's a rich, baggage that you can use at any time, for not just for job, but also for experiencing the world and the culture in a better way. I would go on with that and advise all parents to do so if they have the possibility to raise their children in a bilingual way. It's hard to say this now. I don't remember if we changed something specifically, but we adjusted according to situations, schools, or maybe travel. So maybe we, at some point, it was maybe a little bit strategic here and there. I mean, it was more conscious to do this or that, but I cannot recall anything specific. Okay, we have experience in three different countries because our first child started elementary school in Italy. They had no clue about Croatia or anything. I mean, they know where Croatia is, but I don't think they probably thought, speaking with his mom, that she was from Croatia, but they didn't, it was maybe early, or that didn't pose any problem because the child was speaking Italian as the other kids. In Croatia, we decided to go to minority school. That was planned, and so they are in the school. They are used to the fact that the children might speak both languages. In our case, it was often that the kids were not Italian mother tongue, so they were very happy that an Italian mother tongue was there, because I think they have a problem in creating moments of socialization among kids in which the kids speak Italian, or the minority language. In the US, they were very happy. They were amazed about the thing that the kids were speaking two languages. It was a school in which only one language was spoken, which was English. But they were used to the fact that sometimes kids were coming, and they had a great plan to help the younger child, which was in third grade, to learn English. And they were very open, and I think that was the school when I found the teacher and in general people around the main teacher to be giving all they could have to the kids to help them out. Even in the high school, for my older one, I found teachers which were very, very open to help in general, and very interested also in the thing that we were from another country. Okay, in the US, in Italy, we didn't get any support. in that, but we got encouragement. In Croatia, well, my second child actually was 1 year in the Croatian preschool nursery at the beginning. I don't think they had any, they liked the thing and support, but there was no encouragement in any way. They were not, for them it was not an issue. In the Italian minority school, of course it was an issue, and of course it was a big encouragement and a big, they were very, very happy to have people who, their kids who could easily, and also in socializing moments, switch languages and especially speak the language of the minority, because I think it's a problem in Rijeka by minority schools not to create enough moments of socialization in the school in the language of the minority, because the kids tend to speak with the parents and outside everywhere the language of the majority, even if they are like belonging to the minority because of family. It doesn't have to be, but that's what happens. In some places, like in Rijeka, there are schools, but there are not occasions of socializing the Italian language. The challenges were to create some spaces of socializations which were lacking in town. And this is the main problem if you want to have your kids being bilingual and being able not just to speak at school that language, but to speak with others. So we would meet other parents which would speak also Italian, and we would do that. In Italy, that would have been much harder in terms of Croatian, so we would we would really have to struggle for that. But we didn't live long in Italy, so we didn't have this problem. In general, as I said, there's the problem of finding space of socialization. I think that language at school, it's one part of the mental and cultural experience of the child. So you need to find spaces. Also, of course, what we did actually also, films, and at the time there were VHS, then there were DVDs and stuff like that. Now there is internet. So the parents have to engage in finding those things, but also engaging, letting kids play out with other kids who speak that language, or in situation, travel if you can, as much as you can. I would have liked that the cities or private companies would organize the sailing school for kids in that language. I know that, for instance, Slovenes in Trieste have a lot of activities in Slovenian, and that doesn't mean that these kids have to go only to Slovenian sailing summer camp and not to Italian other activities for kids, football camp or things like that. But I lacked, there was no situations, and so that was a little problem. So we have to cope with that. I think it's very important for the kids to have different worlds, to be able to cope with, and to have a lot of potentials for the future, for their future, also for the profession, but also in general to understand the other. And you don't have to lose your identity if you understand the other. You just have another, have more possibilities to see what it matters to you. I don't think that understanding the other means losing your identity. It was, nice, easygoing. My kids, when my wife tells them, "Hey, say to your father this," and in that language, the kid immediately translates that into my language, because he's when he addresses to one of the parents, he only uses that language. So it was smooth, and I think it was nice. And also was nice then to get along with other people they would meet, and also in English language. I think it's important. So it was, very smooth, and I'm happy about that. I do it. It's such a resource. Why not to do it? I know parents who don't put any effort. I don't know, I know they think that it's hard and difficult, or they don't care about the richness, the cultural importance of that. But there is a cultural importance, and there is a richness, and there is a potential, and that the kids can experience. So just do it. Come on, please. Just put yourself into that.